Chunk accounts are known for their long grinds, whether it's because of a monumental RNG task to overcome or an easily achievable level with a horrible training method, but they aren't usually known for having a time limit. Well, I do. When I get a Posty random, I fail the event and get teleported off to one of 32 random chunks. Last episode we got teleported to the Arty Palace chunk, where we have a handful of simple tasks to do, and one very large task of 70 thieving to pickpocket a paladin. With only men, warriors, and knights of Arty to train on, I'm racing to complete this task to roll out before Posty Pete shows up again. But with almost 700,000 XP to gain before my task is complete, nearly 15 hours of pickpocketing not accounting for healing time, the chances that I can avoid him for that long are looking pretty slim. We're getting out of this chunk this episode, it just depends on how. Welcome to Chunk Evil. We just finished up the illegal tasks in the chunk to the south, and we're ready to tackle the actual goals of this chunk that we got sent to last episode. Here is Counselor Hargrave, where we start the Sheep Herder quest. This is the last quest we need to start while in this chunk, so I'm just knocking it out first so it's done and we can forget about it. Hargrave told us to talk to the doctor in the church who will sell us the protective clothing we need to progress the quest. And once again, we have new pants, but once again they are completely worthless as armor, not to mention they look hideous. We can't do anything more for this quest until we unlock some more chunks to the north, but I really don't want to clog up the inventory with these, and we can get them back anytime for another 100 GP, so for now they're getting dropped. 41 thieving here on warriors. Our XP rates are awful right now. If I did the math right, and trust me, that's a big if, we're getting around 19,000 XP per hour on these guys, and unfortunately we won't have a better training method until we unlock Knights of Ardoon at level 55, well over double our current XP. Well, I f***ed up. Ah, man. All my law and nature runes have been sold to the store here. I didn't do it on purpose. I was rapidly checking the sell price of everything in my inventory and didn't realize I had the left click on both nats and laws to sell 50, a setting from an old Snowflake account I never changed back. So all those painfully accumulated runes are gone for a handful of GP, while I'm grinding thieving. Such a waste. 44 thieving. Missed a few levels there, but I've just been grinding this out for a while. I gotta be honest, I don't see us finishing this one either before Posty Pete shows up, so let's go chase an upgrade instead. We only need a 1 in 128 steel full helm drop from Paladins, which really isn't all that much of an upgrade from a steel med helm. The nice thing about this chunk is that even though the only food source is cooked meat from the general store, since there's a nearby altar where I can recharge my prayer, I can just use Protect from melee to block all damage from them. Just a mithril bar. I would love to bank this, but I killed way more than I showed. Still far into the drop rate for the helm, but man, I hit so poorly on paladins with my crappy weapons, I'm really not enjoying fighting them. It takes ages for a single kill. 46 thieving. When we hit 48, we'll officially be halfway to 55, so just a little more than all the pickpocketing ever done on this account left to do. I don't like pickpocketing, if you couldn't tell. 31 fletching, just doing some background woodcutting and fletching while I'm editing an episode. Can't really pickpocket while doing that. Of course I wasn't recording, but there's the steel full helm drop. Chunk task complete. A very minor upgrade to our defenses, but we got it, and way under the drop rate too at 53 KC. It wouldn't have been too bad to go 2 or even 3x the rate on this task, but I'm glad we got it done. Here's 26 fishing from Evil Bob, still never touched a fishing spot, 42 woodcutting, and 58 thieving, which again is only halfway to where we can pickpocket Arty Knights. Mysterious old man with a 1 in 150 loop half of a key, but this is also just one less inventory space, so I'm selling to the store for like a single pickpocket's worth of gold. 49 thieving, and 50. Everybody clapped. Just had a Leo random event, and this lamp will get us to level 15 Hunter. We need level 27 to start catching implings in the world. This account will never utilize Puro. 51 thieving. This is going to be so much better when we can pickpocket the knights. Mime random here for pants and gloves. Guess I've never banked these, but we have no gloves on, so we can just wear those, and I will actually hold on to these pants if I can, just so we can start getting extra lamps from these. I got a maze random, but I wanted to show this one because I'm prioritizing getting the runes from the chest, meaning that I've hopped to a free-to-play world as to not receive potions as part of the loot. So I've left myself this obnoxious note to remind me to hop out before it's over so I don't get tallied to just outside the crafting guild, where the game dumps you if you were in a members area but somehow logged into a free-to-play world, and random events are one of the few places you can actually do that. If you're enjoying the content, consider giving the video a like or subscribing to the channel. I have a goal of getting to 1 million subscribers by the end of this sentence. Thanks, champ. Okay, so I do have catalytic runes from the illegal chunk to the south, but barely any at all, and I wanted to see if I could get at least a single kill on the Cyclops with them. Phew, that was close. We got the kill, which is a task, but we didn't get the giant key, which is the other Cyclops-based task in this chunk. I think I'm going to use up as many runes as possible. I can cast a lot of curses, and see if we can get to that magic level 37 while I'm here. There we go, level 37 magic. We no longer need a boost to teleport to Faldor, and that's also total level 575. 53 thieving, it's so close I can taste it. This is not right. Nothing interesting happens? I call bullshit. Jagex, we need to be able to give all dogs any bones, even aggressive ones. Get on that. Damn, I swear I had a feeling this one was the one. Alright, let me grab this meat and let's see where we end up. We were still ages away from our thieving task, but maybe we'll go to somewhere with a better method. So I want to explain something I found out about this random event. Molly has 3 sets of locations you can teleport the player based on if you're in free-to-play or members worlds. One section is members only locations, one section is free-to-play only locations, and one is a shared group that both can get teleported to. Up to this point in the series, I wrongly assumed that being on Members World allowed me access to all of the teleport locations. So this very clearly labeled section of locations I have never had a chance to roll. From here on out, as I'm explaining Chunk Chat right now, I'll be flipping a coin to determine if I do the event on free-to-play or Members Worlds. This one came up tails, so that's free-to-play. Let's see. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so honored to be saying this. Presenting our next chunk, Mr. FrostyBard.
He stood on a single tile, tracked in umbrage for a while, till a talking skull showed up and Molly gave him quite a trial. Teleported all around the map, from Artie to the rock in the back. The evil chunk man finds himself in Edgeville as Obor's new favorite snack. Part 1. Probably.
That guy's so great. Didn't even ask what I want him to sing, he just said, yep, send it over. Frosty, the original Edgeville chunker, is back after a long hiatus with his new Hardcore Iron Man series. Go check out his channel if you're as excited for his return as I am. Let's get this great chunk filter off, and we're good to go. Alright, nice to see we're back to a chunk with a bank and out of UIM mode. That always makes me happy to see. Let's take a quick look around the surface. We have this barn, I guess, with way more men in it that really need to be here. This will be a good place to farm beginner clues and herb drops for the future. Spent a lot of time here as a kid. Over here is another general store, and just next door is Oziak's shop, where we could buy some rune equipment if we could actually get into it. Even when we have that chunk unlocked, unless the Edgeville and the monastery chunk are connected, we won't be able to get into that store. You can't walk across that brown patch to the west of the door to get in from the monastery side. You have to walk around to the back, and the store butts right up against the chunk border. One of the few places I've seen that actually requires 2 chunks to have access to it. We have Doris's house here, which we can't do anything with until we start an evil quest line. That's not branding, it actually involves evil of a sort. There's a furnace here where we can smelt our ores, and there's Crystalia, who can give you wilderness-only slayer tasks, which we're going to avoid like the plague. We can't access the wilderness right now, and even when I can, I still obviously want to stay out of PvP areas. She also has an option to change your spawn point to Edgeville for 5 million, yes that's right, 5 million GP, and yes that is a chunk task. I don't know where I'd earn that here, but hopefully we can find a good moneymaker and stack most of that before we get back. Off to the east side of the river, there's not too much going on. We have a canoe station that you can travel to or from if you are in a chunk account with a single chunk. We have Lucian from the Temple of Ikov quest, but we haven't progressed it enough to interact with him. And we have a bandit camp, which I believe is also for some minor quest that I can't be bothered to look up. Finally, the last and largest point of interest in this chunk is the Edgeville dungeon. There's a ton going on down there, a bunch of new monsters, Obor the hill giant boss, Vinaka the slayer master, and a wilderness area, or rocks up to Addy, even a way for us to get back to the Varrock sewers if we had the agility level. I think that's a good initial peek at this chunk. Let's check out our actual tasks. We have 5 achievement diary tasks for this chunk. Already mentioned we need to get a slayer task from Vinaka, which requires level 40 combat, but we've had that for quite a while now. We need to make a waka canoe at the canoe station, which requires level 57 woodcutting. We need to have a conversation with the emblem trader about emblems. Tough one, that. We need to buy a team cape and equip it within the wilderness. Not sure if I can do that since our chunk ends a tile before the wilderness ditch, but if not, we can backlog it and bank it to do in a later chunk. And finally, we need to collect 5 red spider eggs while in the wilderness, which can be done in the Edgeville dungeon. For the skilling tasks, since there's rune weapons and armor from Obor drops in this chunk, we need both 40 attack and defense, which we already have. We need the ever-present 58 cooking for pita bread due to the presence of imps. There are again yew trees in this chunk, so we need level 60 woodcutting and firemaking, and level 72 fletching to make a yew shield. And the last skilling tasks are level 70 mining and smithing to mine and smelt an adamant bar. Painfully, but also thankfully, we have no anvil in this chunk, so while our smithing task is 70 simply to smelt a bar rather than smith an adamant plate body at level 88, we won't have any better way than smelting bars to train smithing. For our best in slot tasks, since Obor is in this chunk, we need a ton of rune weapons and armor from his drop table for various best in slots, like best range helm, best melee helm, best flinching weapon, best slash weapon, best stab weapon, etc. Basically every item on his drop table is some sort of best in slot for us. We need to get a black axe from black demons found in the wilderness area of the dungeon. There are a ton of potential upgrades within the Slayer shops. I bundled these all into one chunk task card since I really don't want to make one for every single item, especially since we can't use any of them without some Slayer levels. But even if some of these items aren't a best in slot, they are still all required for killing Slayer monsters for one reason or another, so we need to buy at least one of each. Lastly, we have the unique tasks, paramount of which is changing our spawn points at Edgeville with Crystallia, which cost a whopping 5 million GP. We will need giant keys from Hill Giants to access Obor's boss room. We also need the previously mentioned Hill Giants club from Obor at a rate of 1 in 128. We need a curved bone from either Hill Giants or Obor, both at a rate of 1 in 5k. And lastly, we need a looting bag dropped by any monster in the wilderness, which we have access to in the Edgeville dungeon. Quite a hefty task list yet again, but short of our nauseating mining and smithing task with only a bronze pick and bar smelting as our training methods, most of the rest are really just locked behind Hill Giant kills. I think the biggest concern is probably not getting PK'd, despite how little we need to be in the wilderness. Anyways, let's get cracking. Alright, we're here to get our Slayer task from Vanaka. It would be very nice if we could get a few tasks we can actually do right here in this chunk, but I know that's being overly hopeful with our combat level. 60 Lesser Demons. Definitely can't do that here, so much like any other chunk account, Slayer will be backlogged for now. Unlike other chunk accounts though, I can think of a few places we might end up, like the Wizard's Tower, where we can actually finish this task. I'm going to pick up a few of these brass keys. They open a door just up this ladder in this building in the overworld, so we can't go up there yet since it's outside of my chunk. However, if I have access to a bank when I do eventually roll that chunk, potentially from the Varrock West Bank or the Grand Exchange, I'll be able to use this key to get back down here. Now that might backfire spectacularly on me, forcing me to do the bulk of my current tasks in that chunk as well when we inevitably get teleported out of here before finishing this chunk. I almost forgot there's some nettles here in this chunk. I can't remember the handful of quests you need these for, more accurately, nettle tea for, but I'm going to bank some of them for when we eventually run across those quests. Okay, this is gonna hurt, but I totally have enough to buy at least one of everything. Despite saying this, my brain just decided to gloss over the fungicide, Slayer bells, and broad arrowheads and bolts. Unfortunately, I don't realize this the entire time we're here, so we'll have to get those the next time we're near a Slayer Master, assuming I remember at that point too. Technically speaking, even though this helmet has the exact same stats as my Steel Full helmet, it is a best in slot for us by the simple fact that we will eventually get teleported to Lumbridge and potentially gain access to the Swamp Caves, where these are used for not getting hit by wall beasts. So I guess it's technically our best in slot item until we get a higher tier helmet. I want to get at least level 10, preferably level 20, in mining while I'm here so I can start utilizing Crash Stars for mining XP. You need level 10 for the lowest tier of star, and I'm under no illusions that I'll be here long enough to get level 70 mining. It's much more worth my time to try for Obro kills and possible gear upgrades, after this one milestone that unlocks so many different training spots. And I will be smithing up all that we get just because it makes sense here where the furnace is so close, instead of a different potential spot or using nature runes. Okay, big step. We are in the wilderness for the first time. We need to kill a thug for the chunk task, and one of the druids too. Uh-oh, there's somebody here. Run! And he's coming for me. Oh wait, no, he's hiding. Okay, we're both just little babies. That's too much adrenaline for me. We'll come back later. I'm really just down here to get the first hill giant kill for the chunk task, but I figure I should do a full inventory since I came all this way. Nice level combat. We didn't get anything crazy, but this is the same kind of stuff I would have loved to have banked from the Moss Giants. And same here, I was just going to kill one for the chunk task, especially since you get virtually no XP from these guys. However, they do have rope on their drop table. I don't know where we got it, but I have exactly one rope in the bank, and I know there's something like 22 ropes used for various quests in the game, as well as areas like the Smoke Dungeon and the Cow Fight Lair you have to use one every time you access, so I want to get at least a few while I'm here. Okay, I only killed 3, but the rope is a 1 in 128 drop for them, and like I said, virtually no XP from these guys, so I got tired of that pretty quick. Here we are at the Wildy Cape store in Edgeville. Red and black were my colors back in the day, of course, but they're all functionally the same and have the same stats as our way cooler purple cape. Unfortunately, I forgot to even attempt the achievement for putting it on, and just tried to put it on at the bank instead, forgetting the chunk task. Yeah, I just can't justify wearing this instead of the purple one. I don't have to see it. Purple is our color, okay? Okay, we need to try to get at least a few giant keys so we can get at least a few Obor attempts. I'm not even sure how I should approach fighting him yet, but it's not a problem until we get a key. Here's a beginner clue, but there are no steps for beginner clues in this chunk, so we'll just be leaving all of these on the floor, and I probably won't bother showing you any. Yet another loop half of a key. This one is a 1 in 5k drop rate with no ring of wealth. Can I get some full keys, please? Level 60 strength. We can now unironically tell people to feel the burn at the gym. We are officially at the drop rate of 128 with no giant keys yet. Got a lamp here from the Freaky Forester. It's not going to get us a level, but we're inching ever closer to unlocking barehanding implings. It's kind of early in the morning here, and I live on the East Coast, so I figured it was about time for another trip into the wilderness, hence the rags I can afford to lose if I get PK'd. But we're going to try really hard to avoid that. We need to kill a Chaos Druid and a Deadly Red Spider for the chunk task, and I want to see how to get to the Black Demon since I don't think I've really ever been here, and I never really go in the wilderness. It scares me. There's a few Chaos Druids down, mostly herbs and runes, which will be great farming in the future. And here's the Red Spiders. There's one of these guys down, and we have our 3 eggs. And the Black Demons are just right here. Okay, I'll come back with some Mage Rags to take down one of these guys for the task, and hopefully spoon a Black Axe. We definitely want that before we get into the woodcutting. We're back, and I have a nice little safe spot so we can hopefully kill a few, but I don't know how many runes we'll need. Oh, damn it, we just got poisoned. Okay, Spider is blocked, and there's the Black Demon kill. A lobster. Great. We'll come back for the Black Axe. I'm probably being overly cautious getting out of there so early, but I really don't want to get sent back to Lumbridge. We do still have one thing to do that I think is okay considering it's in level 1 or 2 wilderness, and that's going for a looting bag. Thugs drop a steel axe, which is an upgrade from our iron one, even if it isn't the best one we can get while we're here, so I'll be killing them for the axe and a looting bag. There we go, took about 6 kills even though it's a 1 in 15, but the steel axe is a 1 in 128, so I kinda had a feeling we'd get that first. There it is, got it at just under 100 KC, so we even got a little spooned on that. One of the nice things about this looting bag, even though we can't put stuff into it outside of the wilderness, we can mine a full inventory, stop off in the wilderness area and dump it into the bag, then go back and mine another full inventory before having to go to the bank. It should save me an average of a minute or so per trip, which doesn't sound like a lot, but we have a ton of mining to do here if I somehow stayed here for months on end. Level 12 mining, we can now mine our own business. Can't even get through a full inventory, but I do want to go do a maze. It's like an hour later, so if I hop into the wilderness real quick... Oh my god, alright, me, chunk over. Wow, that was wild. I've barely been here for 3 IRL days, so this is a really quick peek after the last one. I think we only had like 8 or 10 hours of playtime. I was not expecting a random that quick, and we have crap in our inventory, but let's go. Editing evil here. Let's rewind that a second and look at just how crazy that was. I had just got out of a maze random I was in for an hour and a half, and only 120 seconds later I got another random event. Most people wouldn't have a reason to know this, but being in another random event space doesn't stop you from getting other randoms, it only delays them. So if you're in one for long enough, you'll be guaranteed another random event at the next possible interval for them to appear. There are certain spaces and interfaces that will stop a random event from appearing, like the Slayer Store interface or the area within most banks. With only 120 seconds until the next random, not that I realized it was coming, it would have been nearly impossible for me to get all the way through the dungeon and back to the bank to stop that random event. But there was one area that I could have gotten to. I almost did, in fact. Any PvP area like the wilderness stops you from getting any random event that will teleport you to a new area, like the Posty Pete random event. However, because I was in a free-to-play world to maximize the runes received from the chests in the maze random, and the Edgeville dungeon is a members-only area, my character stopped at the gate maybe 2 ticks after Posty Pete showed up. If I'd been there on a members world, Chunk Evil would have stepped through the gate before I could react, and Posty Pete would have poofed away since he can't show up in a wilderness area. But events conspired to keep me out of Edgeville, and now all we can do is move forward. Let's see where we ended up. These jokers wanted me to get sent to Port Hazard. Just such a funny idea to them. Alright, let's get this bread. Okay, there's a distinct lack of color. We're in a brand new chunk. Ooh, we're right here? What does this mean for the account? We'll pick up the new chunk next episode. A huge shout out to my channel members who directly support my evil agenda. In the Minion tier, we have my oldest supporter, ShiftyOSRS, and 2 new additions, Harry and King Frederick. And in the evil supporter tier, we have Only Spearman, and another new addition, Foodie. Thank you all so much. It's still wild to me that people are willing to directly support this crazy account, but it truly means the world to me. We'll be back in about a month with the next episode. See you next time.